My Radical Acceptance shawl uses a method that I developed to make knitted granny clusters for those of you who don't like to crochet. And I'm going to show you how to start the inside triangle. To start, leave a tail of 5 inches and make a loop. Knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1 into the loop for 5 stitches. Turn your work over, and on the setup row, you're going to knit all of those stitches through the back loop. Turn your work over and you're ready for row 1. You're going to knit 1 through the back loop, yarn over, knit 3 stitches, and that's going to get you to 1 stitch before the end, yarn over, and then knit 1 through the back loop. Turn your work, and on row 2, you're going to knit 1 through the back loop and slip the yarn over with the yarn and back. Then knit 3 stitches and slip the yarn over purlwise with yarn and back, knit 1 through the back loop. Row 3, knit 1 through the back loop, slip the yarn over purlwise with yarn in front, knit 3, slip your yarn over purlwise with yarn in front, knit 1 through the back loop. And this brings us to row 4. You're going to knit 1 through the back loop, and then underneath the yarn over in those other 2 strands of yarn at the beginning, you're going to knit 1, and you can slip the yarn over off. I like to use my needle, my left needle, to help me purl 1, and then knit 1. And that is a basis for a granny cluster. Next, we're going to knit 2 stitches and pass 1 over to bind off, then knit another stitch and pass that over to bind off. And to get that 3rd stitch bound off, we're going to go under the yarn over and those other 2 strands of yarn and knit a stitch and then bind that stitch off. So that's going to be the middle granny cluster. And now we're going to purl 1 and knit 1 to finish out the 3 stitches into that hole, and now knit 1 through the back loop. And that is your first little granny cluster there at the bottom, plus a start of 2 more on the sides. Row 5, we're going to knit 1 through the back loop, yarn over, and then knit across to 1 stitch before the end. So that center granny cluster just gets knit completely across, so there's nothing above the bind off. And that is after row 5. We're going to turn the work to row 6. And again, we're going to be slipping the yarn overs on the sides with the yarn in back. And all of these slip stitches, they're always going to be slipped purlwise. So it's just going to look like knitted rows. Row 7, again, we're going to slip the yarn overs on the side with yarn in front. And now we're ready for row 8. As you can see, it just looks like it's knitted straight across. And now we're going to turn it into granny clusters. So let's do that first one. It's going to be under the yarn over and those 2 strands on the side. So we're going to knit 1, purl 1, and then knit 1 under all of those strands. And now knit 2 and pass 1 stitch over, knit 1, pass the stitch over. Now we're going to knit under those 3 strands that are right above the bind off of that previous granny cluster underneath. And we need that extra stitch to bind off the last of the 3 granny cluster stitches. So then we're going to continue just with the bind off as before. And again at the end, we've got that yarn over with the other 2 strands there. We're just going to knit 1 and then purl 1 and knit 1 into that hole. And these rows 5 through 8, are going to be repeated. So this is just going to grow up from that level. And that's the start. I'm excited for you to try it.